Hello, career thought leaders. We are talking today about how using AI in our work can add value, not just noise. And this isn't about distraction. It's not about, trying to do the new coolest thing. It's about using a tool that can really change the way we help people, not because it is going to give them answers and those types of things, but because it can help us with some of the pieces that are routine, that are research, that then we can spend more of our time doing the transformational work. And the challenge here is that we see a lot of noise about the best prompts, right? And all of those things. But it's really about understanding how to embed the tools, AI or others, into our coaching process without losing the ethics, the empathy, the connection, and the judgment, right? The discernment that we bring based on our experiences. So we're going to talk about how we can make it a coaching amplifier, how we can help clients use it as well, because it's a skill they need to demonstrate that they can use in a way that adds value. And so it can really be a win-win process when we're teaching clients how to use this. So we're talking about process over prompts. Because prompts are easy, AI can write the prompts for you. It's understanding, how do I weave these tools into my process? And when we talk about prompts, and we have a prompt library, but a lot of it is really, how do I weave AI into my process? And some prompts can give us some ideas. Today, I'm going to show you a few frameworks that help you understand how you can use AI in your processes, because it's about that connection. Because AI and the outputs that it gives are only as good as the client's goal clarity. So if they're not clear, it's going to have a hard time helping them get there. If they don't understand how to make the decisions, right? If they don't have the discernment, what is right, what is wrong, what's good advice, what's bad advice, and of course, then the process surrounding the entire tool. That's what we're going to be talking about. And we'll give you, again, a few frameworks that you can use. So clients are out there struggling to use AI on their own. They don't know what to ask. They don't know what outputs are good or bad. They're copying and pasting resume bullets, right? It's not going well. And we can help them use it better. In our process, in the career development knowledge that we have, there lies the milestones, the discernment, the questions to ask that will make the tools even that much more effective. And you might think, do I need them at all? And I would say yes. And I'll show you a few reasons why as we go through the frameworks that we're going to go through today. However, just the tools, usually not enough. Unless our client was going to be that do-it-yourselfer anyways, the tool by itself is not going to be as much help. And maybe even the tool by itself isn't as much help as a book, because the book is in sequence and it's been evaluated and edited. Whereas the content coming out of AI isn't always going to be in the right sequence, may not be best practices, just because it read it on the internet and it thinks it's a great idea. For instance, applicant tracking system friendly, applicant tracking system compliant, it gets most of that stuff wrong, because maybe 60-70% of the content on the internet about that topic is wrong, sensational, just meant to scare people and not really about how it works. So when I'm using AI to brainstorm or think about articles, it will often bring up this, beat the bots. And I'm like, no, we do not use that language, because that is not a thing. But it's reading it in a ton of articles, so it thinks it is a thing. That's what clients are getting when they're using these tools. And so they can be helpful, they can be responsive, and they can be a good thought partner, but they need something else. And that's where coaching comes along. Of course, goes way beyond that, because we help people make sense of things. We help recognize those patterns. We help draw out things that they may not even know they wanted to say, because it's hard. And even when you're using these tools, like, you can say to AI, ask me some powerful questions to help me discover my brand. Then you're going to sit there and stare at the computer, because it can come up with good questions. but it can't help you process through the answers. It can't sit there and bounce around ideas with you. Well, it can, but it's not the same as the human element that the coaches bring. And that's what we want to talk about. So once we can use AI as a tool inside of the process, then it can add value, and we can decide where it's going to add value for us and our process and for each individual client, just like we might make that decision for an assessment as to whether or not we use an assessment. I think about, do I use AI here or not, in a very similar way. All right, so we're going to talk about 3 different places where we are using AI and give you a little bit of a framework, how we're applying it. Then we're going to walk you through our system where all of our AI programs live so that you can see what these actually look like, a little bit through our sandbox so you can see what that looks like, and then we'll move into the rest of our content here. So career exploration and decision making. This is one of those areas where I do believe AI adds on top of the value of a coach and is something we get benefit from. Why? Because your client has blind spots, you have blind spots and biases, but AI has its own sets of blind spots and biases, but it's not the same as ours. So if your client has grown up in a certain setting, they only know about certain careers or only believe certain careers are valuable. You and I are the same, although we may have a little bit more ability to see because we've talked to a lot of people or whatever. We still have our own biases and our own blind spots about what types of careers are out there. AI can brainstorm beyond those. So we can put in skills, interests, values, don't have to be revealing of the person. But when we put those things in, we can get ideas that a lot of times you or the client have not thought about. And this is one of the ways that we use it. So it's a part of that exploration process. It's not replacing the assessments we need because we need the inside out information to put into AI, but it is a great brainstorming partner and adds that value of ideas we might not have thought of. Then on the back end, the coach still has to go through that process and the refinement with the client to understand, how will these apply to you? Is this what it sounds like it is? Is this something you want to research? We still have to do the rest of the process. It just comes up and helps us come up with the ideas. So AI is an advisor, not a coach. In fact, I wish they would call this AI tools advisors instead of coaches, because that's what 99% of them do. But it can help us get that information and brainstorm beyond our knowledge base, which is huge, right? Brainstorm beyond what you and your clients know from your own lived experiences. So when we think about these uses, this is one of the places where using it is a value add. And I'd recommend, if you're doing career exploration work, that you're embedding AI into your process. When we do this inside of our course, it's about how to use it, the questions and prompts, of course. Then we've got some AI tools created, like a custom GPT, where you can put in someone's stories, their stories about what they've enjoyed in their career, and it can help you pull out the values, interests, skills. So our program embeds the prompts, the process, and some cool tools like the custom GPTs that you can use to walk a client through the process. So the next set of things is job search, interview, that research place that we need to be effective in that space. And this is one of my favorite new frameworks that we've been working on for years, but we finally got a visual around it. We've had a prompt sequence around it for years. But this is, again, one of those things that if you are not using AI to help you do this, there's value that you're missing out on. So here's the overall process. So whether you're talking resume writing, job search, interview prep, this same foundational flow is underneath each one. And so in our foundations session for the micro-credentials, which is next Wednesday, we go through the prompt sequence that builds this foundation of macro level industry research, functional hiring manager research. You don't have to have a specific company for this yet. You're just saying, okay, if I'm applying for a manager of engineering, what does director of engineering in this industry worried about? What do they care about? Then the company itself, when you're doing that networking or you have an interview, and the specific job role, as well as that specific manager when you have a job in mind. And this could be before you write the resume for them or before you go in and interview for that job. So this framework is foundational to all of the other pieces. Career exploration, not as much, but the job search, interviewing, resume writing, LinkedIn profile optimization. This is the foundation because it takes you from keyword matching in a job description, which is fine, but that's not as impactful, as memorable, as findable as doing the deeper research. And AI is a gold mine here, because you're not necessarily looking for factual information. Obviously, at the industry piece you are, but it does a really good job of that because they're big, global, understood concepts. And then when you get into the hiring manager persona, you're wanting comments in Reddit, threads where people are talking about their challenges, their struggles. They are pulling that in, and you're getting the benefit of this big data that was never available to us as individuals. Now it is, and you can use it. So we think about this concept as the foundation to our AI use. And many of our resume writers don't use AI to do the writing, but they do use AI to do this underpinning, where then when you write, you're connecting to the pains of the audience, not just the keywords in the job description. That's basic, right? And we don't want that for our clients. They're not going to stand out that way for long because everybody can do it. So this next level research and the workflow that goes through it, the prompting that goes through it, that's where we're living in this space. And if you want that flow, if you want the information, the community who's been doing it to share with you their insights, that's what we're doing inside our micro-credential series. So check it out. If you're not a member of this yet, I recommend it. It's not just a one-time thing. We do it 3 times a year. You get access to that if you want to join. And every month we're doing our office hours so that we can talk about the latest advances, more technical stuff like, using Notebook LM or using the new browsers, the new AI browsers. We are going deeper in those monthly office hours, answering questions and talking about case studies, because you can't just learn AI in a one-off webinar. You're going to stay engaged as we learn and as things evolve. So then we get into what about resume writing and LinkedIn profile writing? And as I said, most of our audience is not using it necessarily to write, but they're using AI to do the research, to do the analysis. And this is another place where if you're not using it that way as a professional, your clients could be at a disadvantage. And there's a recent research that came out that showed, and this was a Fiverr type of site where people were submitting proposals for a job on Fiverr. And the people who were using AI were chosen more often because they addressed the challenges that the person said they wanted addressed. Because if you're using it well, right, you put in the problem, you get AI to help you write specific to that problem. When people weren't doing that, and they were likely just submitting a template proposal, they aren't getting chosen. Very close to what's going on in resumes today. Everyone can have a keyword optimized resume. But when you really take it deeper and you think about how you can connect to the other pieces of what the company might be looking for, their challenges, their pain points, and you do the work. AI can't replace this piece of work where you get your stories, but it can tell you which stories are most important to think about. And then it can tell you, did you pull out the right ones? Do you still have gaps, right? That's the analysis piece that, if we use AI to do, can put us above other candidates because we are speaking specifically to the pain points. And we want to help our clients do that. But we're still needed because most people have trouble drawing out the story, have trouble digging deeper, connecting the dots, really thinking about their brand, right? What's their unique promise of value? And how do they communicate that in the way that connects to those dots? So you take the research process that we were just looking at and you combine it with the analysis process around the resume and the prompts that go along with that. It's not really the prompts, it's the process of, okay, AI can help us get that focus and really understand what the jobs are looking for. There's a focus piece before we even jump to this part that coaching is key to do, right? What are you really focused on? What jobs are you really targeting? Then we get the human stories. That part is where we help people because they struggle there. They struggle to tell their stories without a bunch of cover up because of our insecurities, right? And then AI can help you wordsmith. You want to be careful with that. And then it can help you edit and analyze. So it's figuring out where you want to plug AI into this process and how you're going to communicate that to your audience. And I know some universities and those folks have a system that's doing this for people. I still would encourage you to create a companion short course that teaches people these steps, because the technologies feel like it does it for them, but it can't. It's not a good idea. They still need to be coming up with their own stories and putting it into the system. Even if the system makes it feel like it's going to do it for you, it's not a good idea. So we walk through these processes. We walk through how coaches are doing this. We have time for coaches and resume writers to engage with each other and discuss how they're doing these things, how they're implementing it, getting ideas from each other. And that's what this program looks like, right? That's what we're doing here. It's a year-long opportunity to engage with this community. We have live sessions every 4 months. It's 3 times a year where we go through the process. And then we have the monthly office hours where you're getting deeper, more technologies, different ideas, case studies, and of course, bringing your own ideas and questions. So this is the series. It starts with that foundational session on Wednesday, where we're going to be going through that master workflow for research. Then we're diving into career coaching, specifically interview coaching, resume and profile creation. And I purposely don't use writing there because, again, it's not really about it doing the writing. And then job search coaching as well. So over the next 4 weeks, we cover those specific topics. And I'm just going to we've had a lot of questions of what does this look like and all of that. So I'm going to give you a little brief tour through a couple of the programs so that you can see what that looks like. And let me find the right place to go and we will get there here. So when you sign up for the full series, what we call the AI Savvy Career Practitioner series. When you sign up for that series, you'll get access to a community and the courses, and they come all in one nicely combined place so that you have access to it. So in our area here, we call it a sandbox because, again, we're playing around, we're testing things like a technical sandbox. We're not giving you, this is how you do it. This is a framework. Here's some ideas. Here's some best practices. And then let's see how we get together and make this happen. So in the learning area, and as part of this group, you have access to, like I said, whichever sessions. If you're doing the full thing, you've got access to all of them. And in each of these sessions is the recording, the tools, the information that goes along with it. And, you've got the session recording, you've got the information, you've got the slides and resources, prompts, links that go to all of those. We're giving that and then we're refreshing it, like I said, 3 times a year. You also get access to some bonus courses. So this one is specific to Notebook LM. It's a very in-depth course that goes through every aspect of Notebook LM, little short videos that walk you through that. We've also got those on Gemini, ChatGPT. You get access to all of those as part of the sandbox. And then you also have the sandbox itself, the career services prompts. And in here, you're going to see the different prompts that we offer, the recordings from the monthly office hours that we do, and all of that content in one place. So, like our monthly office hour recordings, we were talking about job search and how job search is changing. And you can see that there with the recording as well. So all of those pieces come together to create this program that's really about helping you engage with AI as a practitioner in a way that adds value for you and for your clients. Not talking about just the latest and greatest things. We don't talk about all the latest tools because some of them don't make an impact in our work. So we did do a session on Canva and how people are using Canva to help clients create their LinkedIn brand banners. But that's one of those topics in, AI image generation. We don't spend a ton of time there because it's not as impactful to our work. So it's really focused on how do we use these tools with our clients. If you are using these tools with clients, we'd love to hear how you're integrating them, how you're seeing them add value, and really about how it can help you be more transformational. Let's not spend time, printing and highlighting and analyzing job descriptions if we don't need to. Let's have a tool do that faster so then we can spend our time asking the questions, digging into the stories, helping the client build that language and confidence around telling their story. That's where our time is better spent. And in each area of the work that we do, we find those places where we can have AI do some of the work so that you as the coach can spend your effort on the real transformational work, the hard questions, the pondering that needs to be done by the client instead of researching target companies and doing things that the technology can easily do and does a really good job of. And then we can do the debrief, the dig in, and the confidence and language building that people need to practice to move forward. And of course, we talk about other tools besides generative AI and practicing interviewing and the tools that give you feedback, anything that we see that really adds value to the work that we do through the context of our community, which is about 100 career professionals on a regular basis that come from all different walks of career work, whether that's inside universities, nonprofits, corporations, as well as private practice. So we're gathering people from all these different areas together and talking about how we use the tools to best benefit our clients. If you have additional questions about the credentials, please feel free to reach out via LinkedIn or messaging or email. And like we said, we get started next week. So we can't wait to get the community together again and start talking about how these tools have changed, how they're adding new value, and new ways that people are discovering to use them in an impactful way. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we will see you on Tuesday for Trend Tuesday Live as we dig into personal branding and the resurgence that personal branding topics are making here as we deal with AI in the workplace. Have a great weekend.